Get a yellow. Yeah.
You don't want the
I ain't putting nothing in.
Yep. Thank you, sir. Detective Jennifer Deepenhorst.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you all for coming out and sharing with us on today. Let us open up with a word of prayer. God, we thank you once again for this day in which you have made. Lord, we thank you that you have provided for us education on today and expertise in an area that affects each and every one of us and has affected us. So we thank you, Father, for the individuals who are going to come today and share with us and arm us with factual knowledge that can prevent us from frauds and from scams and going into the deeper abyss. So we thank you for our presenters for availing their time. We again thank you for their service. We thank you, Father, for the expertise and the willing of them to share with us so that we can all, dear Father, walk and be healthy in our decisions and our choices. And we thank you. We praise you in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you all for coming. Let me thank Reverend Owens. She contacted me a few weeks ago and talked about this scam, fraud thing that's taken place all over the place. We've been affected. I'm sure probably, if not every family in here or someone that you know as a church. So everything is out there and it's just coming so fast. And salt and sugar looks the same, but they're not. Sometimes we hear things, they sound, but they're not. So we thank God today we've got representatives from the Calhoun County Sheriff's Department in the person of Detective
Jennifer.
I got the Jennifer Deepenhorst. I'm trying to get that right. Jennifer Deepenhorst.
Perfect.
She's going to be with us today sharing from that. We're going to allow her, obviously, to move whatever way she's directed. And then we've also got individuals coming from American One Credit Union who are stuck in traffic, but they will be here and then they will share as well. Okay? So I'm going to get out of the way and I'm going to turn this over to Detective Deepenhorst, Jennifer Deepenhorst. Amen.
Good morning, everyone. So again, I'm Jennifer Deepenhorst. I am a detective with the Sheriff's Office. Don't expect to know and be tested on my last name. Most people just call me either Deputy Jen or now Detective Jen. I know several of you have some questions, and we do have a presentation, but that's the part that's stuck in traffic. So just so that everyone understands that fraud is out there, fraud is everywhere, I'll explain to you some of the things that have happened to me, and if you feel comfortable sharing your own situations or have any questions, feel free to ask or relay that story, and if it's something we can help you with, we will. So I've been a deputy for the last 21 years, law enforcement a total of 25 years. During that time, I've gone from we didn't have any cell phones to now I can't leave home without two, my personal and my work one. Now, with my personal one, my number's been out for the last, 15, 20 years. I've had that number for a long time. With my work one, I just got that when I was put into the Detective Bureau about 3 years ago. That one's not out there all that much because I'm really, I want that for, people at work to contact me. I don't want it getting all interrupted with scams, calls, stuff like that. But even that one is now out there, and I will occasionally get, I don't know how many of you guys get the message that your package, we weren't able to deliver it. Scam. That one right there is a scam. We all know that one's a scam, right? Okay. A new one that they've been sending out in text message is where this charge has been put on your account. If you didn't make this one, give us a call. I've gotten that one. That one is also a scam. You know, what they're doing is they're getting you to call them, and then what they do is these people are very smooth. And if you've been taken in such a way, we need to make a report. But these people are very smooth. You know, they will tell you what you want to hear. They will convince you to do things that you never thought you would do. We have had one gentleman, you know, they actually convinced him to withdraw cash. They sent a courier out to his house to pick it up. And then they had him do it again and again and again. And in order to make sure law enforcement wasn't involved, at one point in time, they had him stay on the phone with them for almost 24 hours to ensure that he didn't call the police or contact his family members. And it was monitoring to make sure that, because they were helping him, they were protecting him. They were making sure that no one was gonna hurt him while they got this money to help free up his Social Security number. Because someone had taken his Social Security number, but they hadn't. And so he thought that he was trying to free up his Social Security number. Because I don't know how many of you have been to the Social Security office. They are not the friendliest people. God bless them and whatever they have had to go through that makes it so that they are not the most friendly people. Hopefully, you know, they will become more friendly, but I know my contacts with them have not been all that friendly. You know, they will not issue a new Social Security number if your identity's been stolen. They won't. It's unfortunate, but they won't. If your identity is stolen, usually what we tell people is go to the 3 major credit bureaus and get your credit frozen, and they can freeze it for up to 7 years. You can get monitoring on that. But the Social Security office will not change your Social Security number. I don't know why. I'm assuming it's because there's so much fraud out there that they just can't do it, because there's only a limited number of, you know, numbers, unless they have to go bigger, and they're not going to do that either, because my contact with them was trying to explain to them how long my son's middle name was and that it didn't stop at a certain letter, and they were like, nope, computer only takes this many letters. I'm like, but you don't understand, my son does not need that name that is gonna go with him the rest of his life, and his middle name has Diepenhorst in it, and they dropped it off at the O. I'm like, please, can we change that? That is not something I want following him. Nope. And I was a new mother, and I was very emotional, and I'm like, can you do? Yeah, no, I'm law enforcement, can you do? Nope. So again, don't expect them to do anything like changing your Social Security number or anything like that. They will not do that. You know, if it's something where your identity has been stolen, we need to make a police report, because the credit bureaus will not do anything without a police report. Different jurisdictions handle these reports different ways. Some of them will call you on the phone, like if you call 911, they will call you on the phone, and they'll say, hey, what's going on? Did you lose any money? No. All right, here's the complaint number, because that's what the credit bureaus are going to want in order to freeze your identity. And then you just take that to them. There's a government website that you can go to, file a report with them, and that's where they link it up to your Social Security number. They freeze your identity, and then, you know, hopefully no one will be able to get credit in your name. My husband just recently had to do this because he got that bill in the mail saying, hey, you know, this credit card that you've had open for 4 years, you haven't paid it, now you owe us $41. We're like, we don't have that one. We've got 2 credit cards that we really shouldn't even have to begin with, so We know how many credit cards we have, and that is not one. And here's another thing is when you do get those letters, one of the things we did is instead of calling the number on the sheet of paper, we actually called the bank that was associated with, that card was associated with. We looked up their actual number as opposed to going with the one on the sheet, because we were like, this is fraudulent mail. Is this really something from them, or is this from someone else? And it was, and somehow, my husband's got a really popular name, and so, did someone mix something up? And so we contacted them directly. We let them know that this wasn't him, that he's never lived in Indiana, filed a report with the local jurisdiction, and then went through all those steps, and then they still kept saying we had this. And I'm like, no, we don't. So then we had to send the police report and stuff like that. So, there's a lot of stuff out there. My mom has gotten the call from my nephew, who was in prison in Mexico. And Grandma, please don't tell Mom. She's going to be so upset with me. But can you send me bail money, because otherwise I'm going to be stuck down here. So then my mom, not thinking, because it sounded like him. Dylan, what are you doing in Mexico? Because he's gone there frequently. And so he's like, well, Grandma, it's just me, Dylan. Can't you just send me the money? Well, Dylan, why are you down there? So she pre-prompted that conversation with his name, which then it's, instead of just, an unknown voice, now he's acknowledged. That's Dylan. And Grandma, why would you not help your grandson, Dylan? So she's like, okay, well, I know you don't want me to call your mom, but this doesn't sound right, because you're supposed to be at Michigan State University, and your mother tells me everything, and she didn't tell me you were taking a trip down to Mexico. So she hangs up. She calls my sister. She's like, what's Dylan doing in Mexico? It's not spring break. And my sister's like, he's not. She's got him on the Life 360. He's sitting in class. Well, why'd he call me telling me he was stuck in Mexico? Does he need money at school? And it took my mom for me to talk to her and go, Mom, that is how they do these. That is how they do these. They call you. They don't tell you what grandson it is, but odds are if you get someone of a certain age, and you can look everyone's age up on the internet, they have a good chance to assume that you have a grandchild, right? And then they got a 50-50 chance that it's going to be male, right? So they can, if they're a male person trying to scam you, they will say grandson. And fortunately, she hung up with them, and she called my sister, who was then able to verify, no, he's not down there. And the thing is they can also spoof phone numbers. So if they had enough background information on our family, they could have changed the phone number to be his number, because we all have Facebook, right? Do we put our connections on there? Like, this is my mom, this is my sister, because they let you do all of that. And if you have it open for everyone to see, everyone gets to see it. Mine is shut down, and I have no associations. It's one of those things where, the only people who can send me friend requests are people I know. The only people who can even send me a message are people I'm friends with. And I don't have to have 500 followers. I don't know what they're following me for. My life is not that great. I don't post a lot on there, but, it's one of those things where it's like you have to take steps to protect yourself, because a lot of times these people are in a foreign country. And I want to help you, I do. But sometimes from a law enforcement standpoint, my heart is breaking, because I can't track your money. By the time it gets to us, the money's gone someplace else and someplace else. And even with the gentleman that had a courier picking up the money, that's not the brains behind it. That's probably someone else who was also defrauded. that was convinced they had to go do that in order to get something else. You know, maybe their computers were locked up because they had the pop-up that said, your computer has downloaded a virus and now you need to call this number in order for us to unlock your computer, which is also a scam because now you're calling into them and then they're like, oh, well, you need to do this, this, and this. Oh, well, hey, if you do this other thing, pick up this block of wrapped up cash that they don't tell you is cash because otherwise it'd be gone anyways. Pick up this package wrapped in duct tape. And then your computer will be unlocked. If that's what you got to do to unlock your computer, sometimes that's what you got to do. But it's a fraud. And then who gets stuck if we catch that courier? It's not the person out in another country who's going to get all that money. It's going to be the person that picked it up, which is going to be someone local. And all they did was fall for a fraud themselves. So whatever you do, don't pick it. Pretend real life is like the airport. Don't ever hold on to anyone else's bags, and don't ever pick up anyone else's bags, because it is not going to end up good. So, did anyone else have anything that they've had happen to them that they'd like to share? Oh, I think she's going to someone in the back.
The Door Dashers. Is there any way that can be stopped? Or the Uber Eats?
So that is going to be someone, it depends on whether it's fraudulent or whether it's theft.
Mm-hmm.
So if it is a true someone who is signed up as an Uber Eats and they have said they were going to drop off the money and they have taken the money and then they didn't drop off, then there should be a way to go back to Uber Eats to get refunded because they never dropped it off.
The credit cards, and I mean, they send me the message, but by then I'm wondering, is the food already there? They've scammed my money.
Okay, so did you actually?
No, I don't use those. I don't use DoorDash or Uber Eats. And I don't know how many charges that this has happened.
Okay, so then someone has access to either your credit card or your account and they're making fraudulent charges and you need to make a report.
Yeah, maybe my email address, I'm thinking. Because I even tried to call a DoorDash site just to tell them, look, I don't order that. I just go and pick my own food up.
Okay, so if you've never used them before, is it just an email saying it, or is it
No.
they're taking the money out of your account?
They're taking my money.
Okay, then someone has access to one of your accounts. You need to make a report.
It's
Someone
like
is
about
fraudulently using your account.
like 6 or 7 different ones.
Yep. You need to figure out whether it's the card that's been compromised or the actual bank account that's been compromised.
Both.
Then we need to get that card canceled immediately, yes. And we need to talk to your bank and let them know that your bank account has been compromised.
Yep.
And shut those down so that they can no longer make charges. If it is from your bank account, then they should be able to reverse those charges, so hopefully you would not be out any money since they were fraudulently taken. They have protections in place, and when American One Credit Union gets here, they should be able to explain more how they can do that, but you would need to make a police report first.
Oh, I didn't make a police report, but I had this account for over 30 years, and I just finally had to tell her, look, it's still happening. I need to stop, you know.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, you do. You need it stopped, and then again, if you make a police report, a lot of times the banks will refund that money. Does that make sense? Because they're insured. They're insured up to $250,000, I believe. You did.
But
Oh,
it's just, it would be in the negative before my check would hit.
yeah.
$1,000 gone. So,
How much?
yeah, $1,000.
My goodness, that's a lot of food.
Yeah,
So, yeah, and it's also possible that it wasn't even Uber Eats. It's possible they had fraudulently used that name or company or spoofed it.
okay.
But if you make a police report, they may be able to do some search warrants to track that back. From a law enforcement standpoint, I hate to say it, but because there is so many, because you've been reimbursed that money, they may just leave it at that, document the fact that your account's been compromised, and then you've been refunded your money, so you've been made whole, and they might just close it out, give you the complaint number so that you can contact the credit bureaus to make sure that none of your other information has been compromised, because there are so many out there. Like the one with the gentleman that was having a courier come, that was still active. What we did is we all got into our undercover gear and we became sleuths. And we tried to catch the next courier to see what it was that they were using to get that courier to come pick that money up. So that we could catch one of the bad guys. Or if that wasn't a bad guy, if that was someone being defrauded, we could catch the next bad guy who was the bad guy for them. But with something like that, if we've got someone who's made whole, as much as we want to go and do all of that, we're also limited with our manpower and our hours. So, but I'm glad you were refunded the money. I think there was someone else had a question. Where were they? Up. Oh, the big group one. HR. I got this one too. My son, who's only 12, got this one too. Yeah, this one is the one that's trying to hit up people who are in a hard place, people who are wanting to get a new job. They just send it out to everyone. They send it out as a group because then you know what? Then it looks like it's there's a lot of people in there. If you've got a lot of people in there, this can't be fraud, right? So that
The thing that should alert you is the fact that you're making so much money every day, and at the end of the month you're supposed to get like $8,000 or $10,000. Do you do that on your religion?
I do not. I wish, but no. And that goes back to what my mother and my grandmother used to tell me. There's nothing in this world that is going to come free. And if it sounds too good to be true, it is.
Mine is if you ever choose to purchase something, especially through like Facebook or Instagram, make sure you contact the person that you know that's associated with whatever it is, because I had someone create a fake Instagram account and sent out this link to all the people in my contacts, and it was a fake, because I don't use Instagram. First of all, I have an account, but I don't ever use it, and they were trying to get them to buy something, and I got so many emails and texts where people were like, yeah, that didn't sound like you. I knew it right away. Well, my caution is, just because you know someone and there's something that someone sends you, don't just blindly believe it, because that's another way they get people, is because they use someone they know to peddle their fraudulent goods. And I was so glad that people know me well enough to know that I wouldn't send anything out, and then the wording didn't sound like me, so people knew. But you just got to be careful and think about the purchases and things that you make, because it's so easy to get taken.
It is. When Facebook first started becoming popular, and even now, they'll take and they'll make a Facebook account. They will take your picture from your Facebook account and make it their picture so it looks like it's coming from them, and then they will friend you. And that's why I said I only accept friend requests from people I truly know. But if I get another one from my mom, guess what? Mom, why are you sending me a second friend request? You know, that's not going to happen. So a lot of times you'll see people post on Facebook, my account's been hacked. So it's not necessarily someone got into that account. What they did is they made a new account, spoofed it with their name, and put their picture on it, and then started sending messages. And it's similar to what they do over the phone in regards to when they called my mom and pretended to be my nephew. They will say, hey, it's Kathy. I went to so-and-so, and we're stuck down here. Can you know I'm good for it. Can you wire me money so that I can, get out of jail, get a new plane ticket because we missed the plane. It's stuff that might sound, but here's the thing is, my mom, I love her to death. She does not spell well, but she writes her words out in a concise manner. I know when it's her and when it's not her. So if you get something that doesn't sound right, doesn't sound like them, it probably is not them. If my mom sent me a Facebook message, or if my sister sent me a Facebook message, I would be calling them on the phone going, what did you do? How can I help? What's going on? As opposed to, replying back in that Facebook. Also, if anyone asks you to use like a MoneyGram, it's really hard for us to track that and get that back. If they ask you to do it in Apple Card, Google Play, it is a fraud. The Sheriff's Department, I will tell you right now, we do not accept Google Play cards. We do not accept Apple gift cards. We don't accept any gift cards. We take cash in hand or bail bondsman. That's it. And if we tell you you have a warrant, you probably don't. That's probably a scam because we can't tell you that over the phone. I can't just call you up and go, you know what, you got a warrant. Because when it comes to your personally identifiable information, we have to be very careful as the Sheriff's Department who we release that to. So we can't just call you up, assume it's you on the phone, and go, you got a warrant. Now, if we've had contact in the past that, you might have made a mistake that might require you to show up to court, I might say, hey, this is Jen. We had contact on such and such date. You remember me saying, hey, I got to submit some paperwork. I'm not sure how this is going to go. I will tell you, hey, you might want to go down to the courthouse and make sure you got your paperwork taken care of. Hint, hint, you might have a warrant, but I don't tell you. But I don't tell you that. We all make mistakes. Sometimes stuff happens. Sometimes paper gets generated. But if we've had that conversation, I'm going to tell you go down to the courthouse. Why? I might also tell you, hey, you might want to carry $500 with you.
Jen, right here.
So,
Yes, I've been getting these texts from some place called USPS, and they keep saying, since the package does not have a house number, the package transportation is interrupted. Please update. And then they send me another one saying, click here for your information. First they had one person, then the other two, now they got 3 people, and you're no longer partner. I'm like, I wasn't your partner in the first place. But I didn't I didn't text them back or anything like that. I'm like, they think I'm crazy.
that is how they get some people. That is part of that mass phone dump that they will put out there, that where they're trying to get. They can send out 1,000 numbers. If they get one person to respond back, they're going to end up making money. So they send it out to as many people as they can in hopes that 1 or 2 people will respond back. The USPS is the United States Postal Service, and they are not going to send that out because they are not going to have people there sending those messages out. They will put something on your door. They will put something in your mailbox if they can't deliver that package. You will have to come down to them. But if the package doesn't have an address, that's where you're like, am I expecting a package? There you go. Oh, sorry. Well, I tell you what, I don't know if anyone's been pulled over by the cops, but I have been. I have been. And when those red and blue lights come on, even behind me, I'm like, what'd I do? What'd I do? Did I miss something? What's going on? I get scared too. And when the sheriff's department calls you and says you have a warrant, how many people get that? Oh, crap. Because I would if I didn't work in law enforcement and didn't know they can't call me. Yes, ma'am.
I had a group text from, it was some doctor, and they said that their patients had overpaid and they were sending out checks and to click here. And I'm like, I know if I have money coming, they tell you got money coming, you'll look. But I Googled the doctor off on another site. And the doctor's in Kalamazoo. I'm like, I ain't been to Kalamazoo.
Yeah, it's, and again, that's another one of those tactics where they're reaching out to you, So I know that for my mom, she's had a couple different medical issues that she's had to deal with. She's also in that time moved. She uses, I forget which plan it is, but I think, is it Plan D or something like that? And, she went to this doctor and then she moved and, she's like, I got this letter that said that they were going to refund the money. I'm like, call the doctor first, make sure. Look them up, call them, see what's going on, because, and especially with health insurance, you don't want to take that money back because they're going to want it at some point in time. So, and that was a record-keeping issue on that part, but that's one of those things where, if you don't have a family member that you think had life insurance and that suddenly died, I know all my family members. I know which ones might have life insurance, which ones probably don't. And if my third cousin passes away, I can guarantee you I am not the beneficiary. If they even had it. They probably didn't. So it's like, if my mom passes away, I'm going to know she passed away. It is going to hurt, and I am not going to want that to happen. But is there a possibility? Yeah, but we're going to have all of that information with us. So.
We have technology
Awesome.
set up.
So, oh, yes, ma'am.
Oh, sorry. I got a odd spelling of my name. So when people call me and they go, well, hey, Keka, how are you? I'm like, you don't know how to say my name, so you don't know.
Exactly.
Because it's pronounced Keisha, but the way it's spelled, it looked like Kekia or Kika or something. I'm like, you don't know. So, but they'll call you like they
Oh.
they really know who you are. They be so engaging.
These people are smooth. They are. They are slippery, slimy, smooth. They have been trained how to do this. They are usually in a foreign company, and they're, not to sympathize them, but usually the callers are just, they're not the ones getting this money either. They have to do this in order to get food, have a place to stay, not be unalived, because that's where the country that they're at, that's what they will do. If you're not a productive person in this fraud scheme, they will unalive you. That is very unfortunate. I wish we could do something to save those people. I truly do. They are as much a victim as what the people who are defrauded in, but you are the people that are here. You are the people that are in my jurisdiction. My job is to protect you. If at some point in time we can work back and somehow save people over there, but that's going to be above what I, as a local sheriff, as a local deputy detective, as your local law enforcement, whether it's Battle Creek or somewhere, or Kalamazoo County, Berry County, that's more than what we can do. We are ground level. We are here for you. And I will pray for them. I will pray that they get they can get out of the situation they are in, but I want you guys to be safe. I want your money to be secure. I want you to be able to go through your years in a way that it is not going to be a struggle. I want you to be able to keep your hard-earned money. So, we have our PowerPoint presentation is now ready to go. This is Erin.
Hi, good morning. I'm Erin Sapinski with American One Credit Union, and I'm here as well with my teammate Jenna, also with American One Credit Union. We are part of the risk management team. So at American One Credit Union, our function is to, one, both protect the credit union from situations that occur where someone's trying to defraud the credit union. There's criminal activity going on. We are involved in all of that, but we are also very involved in looking out for our members' safety, spotting scams when our members are involved in them, trying to help them and educate them to see the situations they are in, because sometimes that is a very hard piece to do. And then other times they just don't realize the situations that they are in, and just having the facts laid out or having someone come stop and tell you, these are some red flags, we've seen them before. That's very pivotal for our members sometimes to realize what's happening and really get ahead of it as much as they can. So it's kind of our purpose here in the community, is to come out, share this information, and do what we can. A lot of it you'll already have heard before on different news broadcasts, or from your local law enforcement, or from your friends and family that have seen scams, maybe not been involved in it, but received text messages that they definitely realize are not legitimate, like the toll road scams, which are now so prolific that driving down the highway, you'll see on the billboards announcements stating that these are scams. Oh, excuse me. Also, the the post office text scams, I get those all of the time, even on my work phone. Those are another thing that everybody sees, but because sometimes they're new for people, we still continue to talk about them. The more you talk about it, the more you'll recognize it as it happens to you. So, yes, anyway, that is a little bit about us, American One, what it is that we do. Our passion as well is in the communities that we serve. So anywhere that we have a branch, we're trying to get out, interact with our communities, whether they're members with us or not, because our goal is to create that financial wellness within those communities. And if you're losing your money, if you're being targeted, you are not financially well. So it's really nice that we're able to bring the message out. Our team doesn't get out into the community that often. We're not a marketing team. It's not what we do. We don't sell products. But we really like to bring safety and do what we can. So, all right. Jenna, would you like to move to the next slide? You'll be my slide person today. If it can. This is a slightly different setup than we're used to. So, you guys have a very fancy AV department. Usually we have a television and a cord, and we are just running the show. So. Oh, it moved. It moved. I saw it.
I would go over there, but I am not technologically inclined.
We also are not the IT department, but they keep us alive, so. Hello, friend.
He's like, I was gonna stay in the back. I'm IT for a reason.
All right, we'll continue on because the next slide doesn't really have content for you that you need to see. It just kind of overviews what the plan today is that we're gonna go through with the information we're presenting. We want to go through today's scams, what we're seeing a lot of, what our members are bringing to us, and what we're helping with, and what's being reported to us. It's a credit union, and I think the same as well for Detective Diepenhorst. We want to look at a lot of these red flags that are very common for specific scams or for all scams. A lot of them share a lot of the same things, so you can kind of look out for the same red flags as you are evaluating a situation. We'll talk about recovery from these things, what you can do if you are part of a scam, you've been victimized by a scam, or you know somebody, like what is it you can do about this now that it's happened? And then resources that we have for you. Some things we've brought some literature, which I put up here. We have quite a few different things that you can take a look at, take home with you, information about wire scams, because those are a very big, heavy hitter when it comes to experiencing losses from scams. If your money goes out by wire, it is really hard to recover it, so we like to specifically talk about that. We have general information that covers some common scams, situations for identity theft, including contact information for the Better Business Bureau, the FTC, Federal Trade Commission, how to contact the Do Not Call registry, which may or may not be effective. In different, the FBI, we have their contact information for any internet crimes that you might be aware of and you want to report, and also the 3 credit union, their information is also on here. If you need to call and ask about your credit report, put a freeze on your credit report, that contact information is also on here. We also have it distilled down to a much smaller format, which is a little easier to keep near a phone if you wanted to have it. Growing up, I always had emergency contact information next to my phone as a kid. I don't look my age, but when I was younger, we would call the fire department directly, we would call the ambulance directly. We had those numbers on a sticker on the phone instead of calling 911 for everything. So I really like these, they come in very handy. They also have the IRS on here, the FTC, the Attorney General, the credit bureaus, they're all on here. And then we also have a specific pamphlet that we have received from the Attorney General specific to elder abuse and financial exploitation, because that is also very big in the communities we serve. We have a lot of branches in areas that are rural, and in those rural areas, we also have a lot of older members that frequently are experiencing situations where they're being victimized by often people that they know. So this is good information to have too. It helps you recognize things that are happening and then what to do about them. So we'll go over that a little bit later, but all of those items I just talked about are available in the back. We've set them up on that little kind of podium area though, if you want to take a look at them on the way out or at any point. And jumping right in though, we'll talk a little bit about fraud versus scam. And so I worked with Detective Diepenhorst with a presentation you already had created for information you've brought into the community. And one of the things I really liked is talking about fraud versus scam, because you hear both terms a lot, but they are pretty much the same thing as far as most people are involved in them. A scam involves fraud of some sort. So we use it interchangeably when we're talking to people. We're talking about fraud, we're talking about scams. And of those, some of the most common ones you're gonna see are account takeover, where somebody's trying to get into your bank account, possibly successfully, because that happens a lot. We also want to talk about compromising card information. If you're getting fraud alerts, a lot of times they're legitimate, but those also can be scams too. But just your card information was used somewhere and you definitely weren't at this gas station in Texas. It's not your activity. So how did that happen? What do you do? And then identity theft as well. A lot of different crimes can lead to identity theft, and identity theft leads to loss of money usually. So in most of these situations, what they have in common is that deception is used and it's gonna lead to a loss of money for you. Oh, and then you had some pictures that I put in here about real local things that have happened, and I added one as well. But these pictures, if you can see them, I know they're a little small on the screen, but what we have here, we have instances of skimmers that have been put on gas pumps, which I personally have had a card compromised from that, from a local gas station, where before tap to pay was really big. I now pretty much exclusively will use that since it's a much safer technology, but a skimmer, you put your card in there and you don't realize it's there, it's going to capture all of your information, and then the bad actor now has your card information, and they can use it for online shopping, they can use it to register for bills, they can use it for all sorts of things. Mm-hmm. Have we had any recent ones that you've been aware of in this area?
Not in this area. Usually they hit the larger Detroit, Chicago, sometimes Grand Rapids, but just keep in mind, especially with I-94 running through Battle Creek, it's easy to hop off, hop on, or, I hate to say this, but they have put the hows to do this so much on YouTube that you can get bad actors who might work locally. You know, so just, and that's something where if it happens, you know, you need to contact your bank and law enforcement as soon as possible. One of the things I do, just because, I mean, honestly, some of these look so good, I don't know that I would notice it. And sometimes I remember to tap to pay, and sometimes I just stick my card in, and I don't think tap to pay is better. safer. So I just stick my card in, and at halftime, I have to get gas, and I've got 10 other things going on. So it does happen, they do get scammed. But what I like to do is I like to go to the pump that is closest to the doors if I can. Because when they put these scammers up, they're usually putting them at the farthest away pump that no one can see from the clerk's office. Because if that clerk is sitting there and, they're chewing their bubble gum and they're like, I got 2 more hours left of my shift, and they see someone at the pump in front of them messing with it, they might report that, they might say something to someone, but they might not see someone on that far back pump 10. And that's not on them. I wouldn't be able to see it. I mean, my both bifocals right now, sometimes I'm like, which way do I need to look to see what I'm looking at? So they might not be able to see it, and they know that. They hit the furthest out pumps that someone's not going to see, or try and get in as close as they can without being seen. Because even if they can do this real quick, 10 seconds and under, they don't want to be caught.
It's very true that it is a very fast process. The people that do this do it a lot. They do it all the time. They do it on a lot of different equipment. Another example on here that might be hard to see is an ATM skimmer. And that's something I'm very familiar with in my world, because I know when it happens to American One ATMs, which it has happened. Conveniently, knock on wood, not since we upgraded our ATMs to be a different style than is what's commonly used and accessible, because they're going to target the things that are very common, that are easy to put skimmers on. So it's always a struggle staying a step ahead of technology, and it's always a huge cost associated with it as well. But when you're able to do it, we help protect our members as much as we can. We just upgraded all of our ATMs completely across the board. All 50, however many we have of them, are now a newer style that are less often skimmed. However, it is still possible. So just most people who are committing this crime don't have that equipment yet. But they do it very quickly. I've watched the camera footage of it, and it will be as much time as it takes someone to normally do a transaction, so it doesn't necessarily look like somebody is doing something nefarious to an ATM. They can get right up there, they know what they're doing, they just slap it on, they put their camera up there, since at an ATM you need your PIN number as well. So it'll be a 2-part system. And oftentimes it happens on long weekends at banks too. And this is not just an American One specific thing, that's just my expertise. But all banks see this, and we will see reports from other institutions as well on long holiday weekends where a bank is closed for maybe 3 days. They're not able to check their ATMs routinely to make sure there's nothing on them. That's a really heavy targeted time for ATM skimmers. Yes?
You mentioned the gas pumps, that they'll put some sort of a skimmer on there. When we go to the gas pump, what should we be looking for to see if there's a skimmer on it? You have one of those pictures up there identifies it?
So one of these pictures, I believe the top corner up by the blue area, I believe that is a gas pump, and it's an overlay that goes over it, so it looks very convincingly normal. But a lot of times you can take some different steps to try to identify if something's there. A lot of times if I have to insert my card, I'm going to give it like a good tug. If it's securely fastened, it's not going on anywhere. However, the glue that they use sometimes is also pretty secure, so that is not foolproof. But you can take certain steps.
And the best way to protect yourself is to use the tap and pay.
Yes.
If your card has that little chip in the center of it, and the device that you're going to has those 3 lines on it, that's the tap and pay. If you can pay that way, then they're not skimming or scamming the strip of your card. So I think I got a card somewhere.
Yes, I don't.
Sorry, pockets.
But in the meantime as well, my parents are very old school. They're both in their 70s, and they don't use pay at the pump at all. They will go inside and pay with cash or pay with a card inside as well, because then you know that there's nothing going on at the gas pump that's going to be compromising your information.
So here's a card. I'm sure everyone's seen if you're going to use and pay with this. If you've got the chip on it, that chip has your information, and that's where you do the tap to pay, is you put that chip up next to that little wireless thing, and it takes it directly off of that. If you have to insert it, all of your information that's on the card, the account number, your name, the valid through, and your 3-digit special PIN number as well as the PIN number that you have to put in. You know, that everything but your 4-digit PIN is going to be on here, and that's why they have that secondary camera to catch your PIN. You know, they take that off of this. And then what they do is Amazon, you can buy a whole bunch of cards that just that are blank and have these strips, and then they can just put all of that information they just scammed off of your card and put that on a new card. So then they can start swiping it. Because you're like, they have to punch those numbers in every time, doesn't, how is that? No, they just get a bunch of these fake cards, or they're not fake, they're legitimately blank cards. They buy them off Amazon, Amazon sells them, and that's what they use.
Yep. Everything you need to do this is available out there, and people purchase it, and they do these things. And then not only for purchases, they could use those at ATMs as well, because they will have a copy of your card and they'll have your PIN number from the camera. So they have everything they need to access your account at an ATM as well. So a little bit on the
Real quick,
yes.
speaking of pins, is it advisable or does it matter whether or not, so like you have an option when you use your debit card to enter a pin or to bypass the pin. Is one better than another?
So personally, if I have the option, I tend to bypass the PIN, and half of the time that's because I don't remember my PIN on the card that I'm using. It's definitely the case. However, if you're running it as credit, and then you do have some security in that you're not entering your PIN, no one will see your PIN, it is not compromised. So it is a better security step for that if you're able to do it.
And a lot of times that's just the difference with the bank as to whether they're running it as a debit or through the credit card company that is on that credit or on that debit card. Because usually they're backed by Visa, MasterCard, or Discover Card. And so that's all that does is you bypass the direct debit from your account and do it as kind of like a credit card, even though it's not a credit card, it's a debit card.
And you as the consumer, there's no difference to how you are handling the transaction. There's no difference in any fees. It's still going to be exactly the same for you regardless of how you do it. It's just you're entering your PIN or you're not entering your PIN. That's a little bit different if you're actually using a credit card versus a debit card. The actual card, you have kind of different options there. Your financial institution is going to have fraud protection anyway. There's going to be those protections available to you in situations where your card's been compromised, or it's just different situations where the main benefit comes to you, whereas you're using your debit card and your debit card is compromised, they have access to your money. They're taking money out of your account. If it's a credit card, they're taking the bank's money. They're not taking your money. So there is inherent security in using a credit card over a debit card. Yes, there's interest involved with that. It's a choice that everyone has to make on their own. If they want to use their card, pay it off on a monthly basis, they want to accrue a balance, pay interest. But if your credit card is compromised, that's not your money, that's the bank's money. So it does protect you in that way. So if there's an option, particularly for online shopping, even if it's not American One credit card, it's just any credit card, it's going to be a better option really for online shopping, because if that's compromised, you're not going to hurt as bad. You still have to go through the resolution process, but you'll have money in your checking account. You'll have money in your savings account. So, all right, let's see. Oh, a couple other items in this picture. I added one. The far picture all by itself looks like a call center. That's a picture that I obtained from I think it was an AARP news article about an overseas fraud call center where that is their job, and it was shut down. I think that one was a couple years ago. But you were talking a little bit ago about how that is some people's job. That's how they make their money. It's not to them. They're not doing illegal activity. They're making money to feed their families, but they're on the phone all day attempting to perpetrate fraud. And so it's very routine to them. They're very confident in it because that's what they're trained to do, and that's what makes them money. So I thought that was very interesting, and that's being a lot more proficient lately in the news. They're showing more about shutting down those kinds of activity. All right, so we're going to move on to the next slide, which for these situations we've just talked about, there's some tips we have for what you can do proactively with this to try to avoid certain things. So particularly when it comes to, identity theft, card information, all that, you want to make sure not to get your information out there in the first place. And you can do that by not putting your information on checks, certain sensitive information. Some places require you to, but if you don't need to, don't put your driver's license number on your check. Don't put your social security number on your check. Checks usually get mailed, and mail gets stolen. So.
It used to be a thing where you put your driver's license on your check.
Yep. I used to have to do it for my rent check. So
You know?
they would require that for me, but as checks are kind of falling out of regular use, you don't see this as much. But a lot of people who are used to using checks, they do still do this, and we do see that on checks.
And just keep in mind, your check has your bank account number and your bank routing number and your bank name on it. And once someone, and that's why when we have mail thefts, larceny of mail, when people, and this is more for local as opposed to this, but when we have larceny from mail, we usually tell people, lock down your accounts, because if you had anything in there, if you had your outgoing check to Consumers Energy, or you had your outgoing check to your granddaughter's birthday, you know, they can take those checks. Not only can they wash that check and put new amounts in there, they can also take that account information and start making fake checks to pull from that account. Yes, ma'am.
Another option, if you still order checks, is to have them mailed to your credit union. You can pick them up, or bank, you can have them picked up there, and that way it's not coming to your mail.
Yes, that is definitely, I would definitely suggest that as well. You know, because if they get delivered to your mailbox, then that's gonna be, I think I order them where I usually get 50 per 50. So 200, I order usually 200 at a time, and that lasts me 5 or 6 years because I don't hardly ever use them. You know, that's a lot of checks to be sitting out there somewhere.
Yep. And with check orders as well, most companies you order from have informed delivery. They have that tracking information available, so you can see in the mail where your checks are at, when they're supposed to be delivered, and you can recognize if there's a problem, they didn't show up like they should. So on the bank end, if you've ever had to stop pay a check, you know, there's always a fee associated with that, but it stops that check from being able to clear your account. And it's something that goes into the system. It's done automatically. It doesn't require a person to see it and say, hey, that has a stop. We can't pay that. It's automatic. So it's very nice. But if an entire checkbook is stolen, it's a very similar thing, but it is just one stop payment for the entire checkbook. So if your whole checkbook goes missing, it is worth going in and getting all of those checks stopped, because we can do all of them for just one entry into the system. So it's very nice. I also wanted to talk about on here, we didn't really talk a lot about it, but account takeover was another item that was on the screen. An account takeover is where someone gets access into your bank account, and usually they are getting access into your bank account through your online banking. So there are protections in place for a lot of banks to try to keep your online banking secure, but our protections are also only as good as keeping that information safe is. So there's a lot of different ways someone could access your device. We'll talk a little bit more about that specifically later, but if someone can access your phone and you have your online banking stuff saved on your phone, they can potentially get into your online banking, and in your online banking, they can transfer money into your account. They can make it look like you got a deposit, but they really just move funds from your credit card. And then they can also move funds from your account to somebody else's account a lot of times in your online banking. So that online banking takeover happens when they have access, they move money, you don't realize they did that, and then it's gone. So to protect yourself from that and these other situations, we also say keep your online banking credentials secure. Don't give them to anybody who asks. Nobody should need your username and password. Not even your financial institution. Yes?
When I go online to pull up my account, because I go in to check it to see what the balance is and what has been taken out or put in, I notice before I even put in my password and my username, right below that, it'll have my routing number down there.
So routing numbers are public information. You can Google anybody's routing number because it's the bank's routing number. So each bank has their own routing number, and that is not, you don't want to be telling everyone your routing number, but it's not a secret, it's not confidential information. So that will be on there, and usually it's there to help our members when they need to get information to set up their direct deposit. Routing numbers are confusing. Sometimes they're hard to find, or you're not sure how to identify what the routing number is. So most institutions are pretty public with what it is because it goes to the whole institution. It's like saying that's the city that your account is in, but your address is your actual account, and that's your confidential account number. So telling someone you live in Jackson is not the same as telling somebody you live at 123 West Avenue. So that's kind of how I think about that. So.
And then I know we talked earlier about, you know, social security numbers, and we've all got that social security card. I can remember, you know, my grandmother, grandfather having that in their wallet because that was part of their identification. That was their ID. Don't keep those in your wallet. Don't keep your birth certificate in your wallet. You know, if you need to go to the Secretary of State to get a driver's license or an identification card, you will need those. That is the only time those should be out of a safe and secure location. A safe and secure location is not your glove box. So, and I know this is more for fraud and identity theft, but I'm just gonna, the cop in me has to say, your vehicle title, don't keep that in your glove box either. Because that, they can, you know, falsify signatures and take the title on your car and take your car. That's gonna be a more local thing. That's not gonna be the person that across seas. But I gotta say that, you know, don't keep that stuff somewhere where someone else can access it.
There's a lot you can do with that information. You can effectively steal someone's identity to open up a whole new loan in their name with that information. So if someone has your birth certificate, they have everything that they need right there to apply for a loan. So, and that's where it comes into play to review your bank statements, review your credit reports regularly, because anytime somebody opens or attempts to open something in your name, that's going to show on your credit report. Even if they just applied and got denied for some reason, it's going to show that they tried on your credit report. So if you're looking at that regularly, and you can review it for free, each credit bureau, you can pull your credit report for free without affecting your credit one time a year. So if you can pull it more than that, however, it might affect your credit score temporarily. It might go down and bounce back up. That's just kind of how the bureaus work.
So, and to speak on that, I used to tell people there's 3 credit bureaus out there, and they all share information. So if you're just doing a monitoring, you're just, hey, what's out there, you can always just specifically ask the one for what they have, and then 4 months later, you contact the next one. And you don't want all 3 of them, you just want that one. And then 4 months later, you contact that third one. And then 4 months later, you're back to that first one. Now it's been a year. So you've, in essence, you've checked them 3 times within 1 year, all for free. You just have to make sure that you because they share that information. If Equifax has something, they're gonna share it with TransUnion. TransUnion's gonna share with Equifax and Experian. So they all do. Also, there have been so many hacks into so many different places that a lot of them will set up some sort of free monitoring if you've had something. I don't know, did anyone here work for Post? I think, yep. So I think, what was that, about 5 or 6 years ago, they somehow got hacked, so they were doing that. I think was it Experian or TransUnion that got hacked not too long ago?
I think it was Experian, but I'm not 100% sure.
So at one point in time, they were putting out some free, but you got to sign up for it. Yeah. They won't do it just to do it. That you got to sign up for it. So I just wanted to put that out there so that if you've not fallen into one of those where you can get the free monitorings, if you can do it once per year on all 3, great. But if you're really worried, you can do 1 each and get it 3 times throughout the year. Just make sure you only get the 1, because otherwise they might charge you.
And on that same note, that tip about being able to pull from each bureau every 4 months, that's something as well every employee at American One was taught that when we hired in as well. We did not know that before, and I've done that regularly as well. Maybe not on that cadence, but I've taken advantage of that. It is free. It does not affect your credit score. But there are a lot of services out there that will charge you to pull your credit report, and trying to find the one that does not charge you sometimes can be a little tricky, but that site is on this bookmark. It's called annualcreditreport.com, and that gives you access to your credit report for free from these agencies. There's no fee associated with it. You just verify your information to make sure that you're getting the right credit report, because you don't want anyone else to have access to yours. So the information verification makes sense there. But it is free. So I do love that. Let's see. And we will move on here as well. Well, I'll also mention, though, using direct deposit is always a great idea over getting paid via checks if you have that option as well, because checks can be altered, they can be stolen, they can get lost in the mail. Direct deposit does not have any of those vulnerabilities. It goes right to your account, you have access to it. So that's another way that you can protect yourself in your funds if you're not already using it. It's great to look into it, ask questions on your bank, how it works, and look into maybe getting that one set up. Particularly if any of you receive government benefits right now. As of September 30th, they are no longer issuing paper checks for most benefits. So that's your Social Security, your SSI, benefits from the VA. All of those are now going digital. So most people are set up for that, but we do have a lot of people that we service in American One that do still get paper checks. So we know there's a lot of people out there that have been doing it right along, and we want to make sure everyone knows it's happening so they can transition seamlessly to it, either through direct deposit, or they have a federal payment card that you can also register, where your payment will go right on the card if you don't have a bank account or you don't want to use your bank account. That's also an option for you. So that's something I have more information on if anyone is unaware of it or wants to ask more questions, but we are kind of putting that message out there since that's coming up real fast.
And I know a lot of people, especially when direct deposit first came out, and especially my mom, I love my mom, but she was not of the digital age. I'm of that kind of 1 foot in the digital age, kind of 1 foot outside the digital age. And she's like, well, I don't want Consumers Energy to have access to my account. What if they pull out too much? What if they take a second withdrawal? You are more likely to get scammed or defrauded by sending that check in and having it stolen than what you are with Consumers Energy taking out too many times, too much, and they will notify you every time they do so. Mm-hmm. And if there's something fraudulent on their end, they will do everything they can to remedy that situation. Mm-hmm. Like I said, when direct deposit first came out, even I was a little like, I'm not too sure on this, computers. My mom is 100%, oh no, nope, we're writing a check. These are, and now they have put in so many safety features that if something does go wrong, they will find out and they will make it whole.
All right, so we will move on to our next slide, kind of keep ourselves going here. We're going to talk a little bit more in depth about specific scams that are really prolific both here and across the United States. So there's a lot that we see at American One and other institutions. We do keep communication with fraud teams at other institutions because we talk about a lot of the trends that are going on. Because what's happening at, for example, True Credit Union, Community Choice Credit Union, County National Bank, if you're from that area, those are trends that we're gonna see too. So if we're the first ones to see it, we can give other institutions the heads up, hey, this is happening in our area. Hey, we had ATM skimmers, or we just got a report from the police that there was a skimmer on this gas pump. Did you know about this? Because we can proactively also get that message out to our members. And sometimes they don't know their card was used to the skimmer until we tell them that we're sending them a new card because theirs was identified as used there. So you didn't even experience a fraud from it, but you're getting a new card because it was used there. So we communicate all of that. And part of that is talking about things like catfishing, romance scams, relationship scams, impersonations that are happening. There's scams involving people saying that they're in the military or they're stuck overseas, investment scams. Those all kind of go into the building of a relationship in order to make a financial benefit from your loss. So first on this list I have is catfishing, because it's a term that everyone's somewhat familiar with because there's TV shows about it. So the term's known out there. I watched a lot of MTV Catfish growing up. It was a great time. It was crazy. I didn't think it was that common because I saw it on TV. It seemed like they were common sense situations. But with technology, it's gotten a lot more harder to spot. because people can steal someone's photos from Germany on Facebook, make their own Facebook profile. It looks completely legit. There's a whole bunch of photos of the same person, but that's because they stole them from someone else's profile, and they're pretending that that's them. And they can use that to make a friendship with you. They can use that to make a romantic relationship with you, which is the traditional catfishing. And a lot of what that will show is that there were, 1.14 billion in losses, money, reported in 2023 alone from catfishing and impersonation. And that's just what was reported to the FTC. There's a lot that goes on that's never reported. It doesn't result in a loss, or there's a lot of embarrassment associated with being a victim of a scam. You don't want people to know that that happened to you. But when it's not reported, nothing can happen as a result of it. But it's really prolific, and there's so many people that are in the exact same situation. So if there's anything I can reiterate there, that there is no shame in recognizing that you're in this situation, because then you can recover from it. If you're not recognizing it, if you're not telling people, if you're not taking steps, you're not recovering. You're not financially well.
And with a lot of these catfishing or relationship romance scams, they will reach out to you first. They'll get that one-on-one connection. They'll have been talking to you for a while. You know them, but you don't. Because they're in another city, they're in another state, they might be in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
And, they reached out to you, they've talked to you, they've never asked you then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, as we're talking about jobs, oh, you're a detective, oh, yeah, I do investments, and, oh, yeah, how'd your day go today? Did you guys catch any bad guys? Stuff like that. And they're your friend, right? And then, oh, yeah. Oh, hey, how I told you that I was an investment person? I got this tip for you. You're my friend. I've got this tip for you. Well, you've been talking to them for a couple weeks now. They're your friend, right? But you've never seen them in person, and they're going to give you a tip? Well, there's days I just had to put new gutters on my house. I need to get a new roof. Kids, I got 2 of them, and they are expensive. And if I could make an easy buck, that'd be great. But again, like I said earlier, if it's too good to be true, it is. And that, they are not going to risk, number one, they're not going to risk their job if they truly are an investment person giving you an insider tip. Number 2, if it involves Bitcoin and you know nothing about Bitcoin, do not do it. Is Bitcoin out there? Is it a good investment tool for people who know what they are doing? Yeah, some people know what they're doing with it. I have no clue. I sat through a state police presentation on it. I know enough to know I still don't know much what to do. I know who to call when someone tells me they've been scammed by Bitcoin in an effort to try and get to it, because I now know that there's like a specific link where I might be able to try and get some of that money back for the person who was scammed. But I am not going to invest in it because I do not know enough about it. And if you do, if you know how to do so and how to do so safely, that's good for you. But if someone online who just met you 2, 3, 4 weeks ago is trying to give you a tip about Bitcoin or any of those other types of stuff, it is going to be a scam. Even if they say that they're your friend. Even if they say that they have never connected with anyone before like they've connected with you.
You and your wallet.
Exactly. It's you and your wallet.
Yep. And these examples that we have up here, catfishing, impersonation, military service members, impersonation of those, these are all things that are fairly regularly reported to us from our membership at American One Credit Union. We're in 5 different counties. This is the most western we go, but we're also all the way over in Canton. We're down in Adrian. There's a lot of us in Jackson. Hillsdale. This is all our local area, and we have members from every single area that are targeted by these scams that don't recognize it right away. They fall victim and they experience losses. Romance scams is a really big one for us because I think at least once a week from our membership, which is now just around 70,000-ish members, individual members, at least once a week. Someone's reporting a romance scam that they either recognized, and maybe they gave some information, but they realized at that point that, oh, maybe it's a bad situation, and so they came to us and we're able to get them a new account if they need to, get them new cards issued if they need to. If their online banking was accessed by this other person, we can get that locked down, change their usernames and passwords. We can get them back into a safe position as long as we know what happened. But it's really, really very common. Same thing for, let's see, for military and overseas things, that's where a lot of times you might think they're legitimate because they're saying, oh, I'm in the military, I'm over in Syria, but I can't access my bank accounts because I'm overseas. Can you help me move money? Like, I'm not asking for your money. Can you help me with my money? Which is also a scam, because what they will do is they might have a check sent to you, for example, and they'll say, could you put this in your account, and then you can send it back to me once it's in your account, because it's a good check. It's going to go into your account. And the thing with checks, though, is that the funds are often available to you to use before the check technically clears. So you'll put that in there, and if they've coached you correctly sometimes to lie to your bank and say, like, this is from my IRA, this is from my investment, and some of the red flags are smoothed over and missed, that money becomes available to you, you give it back to the person, and then the check bounces, but it bounced out of your account and you're out of $4,000. That happens a lot. So, and we do our best as employees to spot this, but the bad actors also do their best to make sure that there are no red flags, that you know what to say to the bank. You know to say that, oh no, I'm doing home improvements at my home, because they told you to say that to the bank. And so the bank, I mean, we recognize a lot of these things. We're told a lot, and we can kind of slow things down, because the slower you can get it, the more likely that check is to bounce before you access those funds. Or if we do our jobs really well, we spot it and we don't let you deposit it at all, which is the best, because there's a lot of repercussions to depositing a fraudulent check in your account. One being that you are now liable for that check because you deposited it. And then another is that once those funds are out, we can't, as a bank, we can't do a whole lot there because you deposited the check. And then you took the funds out, you authorized it. And that's a really big thing for us is, with what we can do, is, did you authorize this activity? If you didn't, if it's fraud, if someone stole your card, used it, you didn't authorize that. But if you pulled the cash out of your account, you signed for it, you are authorizing this. And there's a lot of liability that goes with that.
Yeah, and I've seen it take as much as, normally you think, oh, it's cleared. I've seen it take as much as 20 days for them to realize that that initial check was fraudulent. And by then you're thinking, oh, it's good, it's been in my account, right? But again, if someone's asking you to cash a check, most likely it's fraud.
Yep. No one should be asking you to do this for them. They can do it themselves.
And for the gentleman where I'd mentioned they'd kept him on the phone overnight to make sure that he didn't set something up for like a sting operation with the police, they kept him on the phone all night. They also had him on the phone when he went into his bank to withdraw money, because he wanted to make sure he didn't tip anything off, and so that he could also cue him on how to not throw up any red flags for the clerk that was there. It's your bank. They are your friends. They are trying to help you. They are trying to protect you. So when they ask you, because anything over $10,000 gets flagged, so by the IRS, because there's two three-letter groups that I am terrified of. One is the IRS, the other is CPS. So I try not to mess with either one of them. So, even when I've got to pay my taxes and I got to take out, like $3,000 at the time, I'm like, oh great, I'm gonna get flagged by the IRS. No, I'm taking it from this account to this account so that it can go, because I have to put it in a separate account so I don't touch it. But, when they do this, they'll do that first one is under $10,000. It'll be like $9,500. It doesn't get flagged, and they know that that person's on the hook. Then, when the clerk is like, you need $9,500 cash. What's this for? My son's building a house, and he has a mortgage for this amount, and the mortgage, he can't go over that amount, but obviously building costs go up. They wanted to put in a fancier tub. So I'm taking some of my money out to cover that because the loan won't cover it. Okay. He's taking home improvements. We've had, and that's how they do this. They will coach you. And if they are telling you to tell them a lie, it is a fraud.
Banks, we don't ask, oh, yes. I'll let you go first.
Oh,
Sorry.
I was just gonna say, I actually work for a credit union, and the newest scam we're seeing now are buying a car out of another state, and they're trying to wire, and we block a lot of those wires. We've had so many lately.
We've had one or two of those, yes. But we are really critical of our wires, and we ask a lot of questions as well because bad actors know that wiring funds, wiring is what's called guaranteed funds. The financial institution, guarantees the other financial institution that these funds are good. They're going. We're not taking them back because they are good funds. You've sent them out. They're good. So because of that, they're very hard to get back. So it's a very quick way to send money. It's a very safe way to send money as far as legitimate organizations are. That's why you often have to wire money for you're buying a house, for title insurance, for different situations. But bad actors also know that it's really secure, so if they can get your money through a wire, it's going to be real hard for you to get that back. So wires are something.
And, we're talking mostly about personal frauds here. It is very possible that a company, a car dealership, a construction company has been defrauded or has been hacked into or has sent something to another company that says, hey, we did this amount of work, you need to pay us and pay it to this account. And so, said company sends that money and it ends up being they sent it to the wrong place. Not saying it's happened, but it has. People will find listings for, commercial vehicles like your big trucks, your 18-wheelers. Those are expensive vehicles to buy. And we've had someone, people go and they find a good deal. It's from an out-of-state place. They go to make that, they wire the money, and they show up to get their vehicle and they never get it because someone scammed that dealership, posted that as a sale, got the money, and then vanished. And the car company's like, we never even listed that. So those places themselves can also be scammed, spoofed, hacked. So just keep that in mind. Once that money goes out in a wire, it's gone.
Which is another good spot to pause and say as well, like, trust your gut in these situations. If you're starting to feel like something's a little weird, something's not right, that's a good time to stop and pause and ask more questions. Go to different people, ask your family members, because just even an outside perspective from your son or your uncle could help you better identify what's not right about this situation. So even on the same team with Jenna, I'll look at something and I'll be like, I don't know exactly what's happening here, but I'm pretty sure something's not right, and I'll pull in her eyes too, and she'll be able to say, oh, I've seen this before, like, this is not right, and we can hone in on it. So just talking to someone else, talking to your financial institution, because we've seen a lot, even just reaching out to a law enforcement individual to run something past them, it's so much better to get ahead of it in advance than to respond after the fact.
And, even though the phone number was in the emails and somehow they'd hacked into those emails to get that commercial vehicle, the money to purchase the commercial vehicle, if you'd paused for just a second and went, why would I not bring the money to the dealership? Why would I not, do something like that? If you'd pressed the pause button and then looked that dealership up online and gotten their number and called them, they would have said, we don't have a vehicle like that on our lot. But it was such a great deal. He needed that commercial vehicle. This was, something that was going to be, a job opportunity for him. There's a lot of strings in place. But again, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. That can pause. You can make some phone calls. Call 911. We don't want to see you lose your money either. If it's something where you're not sure on and you feel that you might need to get a third perspective or a law enforcement perspective, I know Battle Creek City has a telephone response unit. They can call you back. They can talk it over with you. If they won't, I will. I don't want to see your money scammed. And if it's something where you need to call the sheriff's department, I'll talk to you. So,
Yes, and that pause is also a really good test of a situation by itself as well. Because bad actors often use a sense of urgency to get you to act quickly. They're going to say, oh, we can't slow down. You need to do this now or you're going to lose this. You need to purchase this now or someone else is going to buy it out from under you. Or this investment's going to go away. It's going to change if you don't do it right now. So if someone's pushing back when you pause, it's a really big red flag and it's a really good indicator to take another step back.
anyone here sat through a timeshare? You got to buy now, right? This deal won't be here tomorrow. You got to buy now. You got to buy now. They're legal. I've fallen for it. I have a timeshare. I can't get out of it. I don't know how to get out of it. Would anyone here like a timeshare? I will gift it to you.
Is it
But
nice?
it was that smooth. I mean, we had just gotten married. We had kids. We wanted to go on vacations because my husband and I didn't get a lot of vacations as kids. And what better way to go on vacations than to have a place you can go every year?
And to get a step further with us, he tried to get us to use the church members as like players as far as being able to self-fulfill.
Oh,
So
wow.
they were like taking it a whole nother level and trying to get us to use the people that we worship with.
Yep. And timeshares are legal, but I mean, the people that are scamming are just that smooth. They are. And they have that sense of urgency. And, you know, you've got to take that step back. Give me a day to think about it. And if they say, no, you don't have a day, well, God willing, I do have another day, and I am not going to do it tomorrow either.
Now, out of respect for everyone's time, I do want to call out that it is 11:30, so if anyone can't stay and hang out with us longer, because we could talk about this all day, both of us. And we do have quite a bit more content we can go through, and my apologies, it was a late start. But I do have a coworker, Jenna, who is also available for questions if you do need to leave, but you want to talk to somebody on the way out or ask questions of. Jenna's available and more than willing to pop out and chat with you. We will now move on, though, to another type of fun and exciting scams, which will be 2 slides from now since we do not have video capabilities. I brought a couple of news clips as well to kind of share about different things that have hit the news that have been really big and have also been happening in our area. But we, unfortunately, cannot play them with sound, so we will not play them at all. They're not as fun without the sound. So we now will talk a little bit about emergency scams, because those are something also that we have seen in American One and we've seen in the area. Do you want to?
So we did talk a little bit about there's a warrant for your arrest, help I'm in jail, I'm in the hospital. I haven't seen that one too much, but I know, you know, that's similar to the help I'm in jail, help I'm in the hospital.
Right.
So,
Who are we summoning? Okay, I'll do that.
so I think, again, like we've hit that one already earlier today. Did anyone have any questions about that? Okay. We can probably move on to the next slide then. Oh, cryptocurrency. Oh, you good? Oh, okay. So we skipped over, because I did hit that while you guys were out.
We've talked a little bit about cryptocurrency as well, which is something we'd brought information as well on. We are working on kind of wrapping up so that we can move out for refreshments as well, because I have been advised that there are refreshments, and I'm ready for that. But a couple of things to touch on with cryptocurrency. We've already mentioned that it is a legit form of currency, and it can be used in legitimate ways, but there are certain drawbacks as well that are associated with it. One of the big ones that we talk about is that it's not protected the way that your funds are by a financial institution. You don't have any fraud protections with cryptocurrency. It's a scary market out there. You get into it, you're on your own. You are swimming in the ocean with maybe a life vest, no boat. It's a scary world. And bad actors will, because they know crypto is vulnerable like that, they will often encourage you to use it to make a payment to them. Because once they get your money through crypto, which is easier than you think, you aren't getting it back. It's very, very unlikely you will get anything back. So So a big thing we see is where a bad actor will try to get you to deposit funds into a crypto ATM, which are really prolific. They're all over the place. You can go online and search Bitcoin ATM. You're going to see them in places you didn't know they were. They're going to be in the gas station around the corner. There's a bunch in Jackson. The closest one to the credit union is 3 or 4 blocks away. They're everywhere. But if someone's telling you to deposit money into a Bitcoin ATM, that is 100% a scam. Do not do that. Let's see. There's some other different scam types that we also have a lot of information about. Phishing is one we talked a little bit about, and you're going to see that through text messages. You're going to see it through emails. You can receive vishing calls, which is voice phishing calls, where someone's calling you up, and it's called phishing because they are fishing for your information. They might know a little bit about you from your social media. They might know nothing about you, and that's the case in most of the text messages. They're going out to thousands of people saying, hey, there was a declined charge on your card at XYZ Bank. They're just hoping that you actually bank there and you think it's legitimate and you're going to click the link. But even people who don't bank there get the exact same text messages. So it's not that they know you have an account at this institution, they're guessing you do.
And sometimes the CEO of the bank will reach out to you directly.
Very true. Martha's very nice. And
And-
very interested in your account.
And he's not busy at all, so he is reaching out to you directly.
Mm-hmm. All right. And contests, lottery things are something that we have actually been seeing a really big rise in publishers clearinghouse scams, where people will get letters in the mail, sometimes with a check that come with them that claim that you have won the lottery. You've won Publishers Clearinghouse. You didn't enter it, but you won it. And all you have to do is deposit this check in your bank, pay for the fees and the taxes. They'll send you your winnings. But what they want you to do is they want you to put that check in your account, and they want you to send money back because that check's going to bounce. And then you're out that money. Always happens. So there's a lot of things you can watch out for in most of these situations. If anyone's reaching out to you unsolicited, if you're not expecting someone to reach out to you, it's a red flag. If they're asking for your personal information, it's a red flag. If it's easy money, but you have to pay first, that is a really big one. If there's a request for payment in unusual ways, you talked about gift cards earlier. No one's going to ask you to make a payment for something in an Apple gift card, and an iTunes gift card, in a Lowe's gift card. That was a recent one for us. We had someone out almost $20,000 because they purchased Lowe's gift cards. The second you give that information on the gift card to somebody, that money is gone. So it's not coming back. The sense of urgency, if it's too good to be true, and particularly if you're not listening, you're not complying, and they start getting aggressive, they start getting pushy, it's a really big red flag. A legitimate agency is not going to do that to you. And to wrap it up,
I know where you live. That's one of the things that they will say. I know where you live.
Yep.
That's one of the fear tactics.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you know where I live, then I don't need to call the cops, but I'm going to, and they're going to be sitting out here.
So there's a lot of things you can do to protect yourself, including not oversharing on social media. Don't talk to people you don't know. Be careful of people you do know. And then also, if you're targeted as well by anyone, you can reach out to your financial institution, tell them what happened, call law enforcement, different protection agencies. You can change your passwords, have your device scanned if you think someone has access to it. Tech support scams are really big, where someone tells you you're infected by something. You let them access into your computer, they're in there now. They've got malware on your computer, they can have access to your online banking, and you have to go get that scanned by a professional to make sure it's safe once you have gotten into the situation, or they're going to do it again, and you won't even know. And you can also reach out to the credit agencies, freeze your credit, add alerts onto your credit. That's a great step because no one can open something in your name if your credit's frozen. So if you're not going to be applying for things, you might as well freeze your credit.
Mm-hmm.
So then nobody else is going to be applying for things for you. So, and of course, we have all these resources as well that we have in the back. We'll have available as long as we're here. And also we're available reaching out to American One Online for any other additional resources, as well as your local law enforcement.
Yeah.
So.
And then some of these techniques and tactics that are used in these types of frauds can also be used by local people. If you have an elderly parent or family member, people will try to take advantage of them as well. That's usually a more locally based victim, locally based suspect. if you feel something might be going on, call law enforcement. You know, you know, when someone's being taken advantage by their caretaker, sometimes that can be a crime, sometimes it's a civil matter. If it's something where you need someone brought into, call law enforcement. We can take a look at it. You know, hopefully whoever responds doesn't just brush it off as a civil matter, but if you have a vulnerable adult, you know, as much as I'm not a fan of CPS, there is Adult Protective Services. They can come in, they can let you know if something sounds like a scam or if it sounds like someone's being taken advantage of, and say, hey, we do need to get law enforcement involved in this, because, you know, sometimes those caretakers, they get paid, but hey, can you help me with my rent? It's just for this week. They're taking advantage of someone. And if it's a vulnerable adult, we may have some criminal remedy beyond the civil issues, so.
Thank you very much. Very good information. I'm sure there's probably still some questions, but we want to make sure that we get people where they to their next destination or their next plan. We do have refreshments and the materials that you left in the fellowship hall. So if you were able to stick around and you wanted to ask them some more direct questions, I'm hoping that they would welcome that. I appreciate you, Jen and Aaron, for answering the call and for putting things together and connecting us with you, for this information for our congregation. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you again. As pastor, on behalf of Macedonia, thank you all for coming out. Very wonderful information. Knowledge is power. There's even a verse in the scripture that says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. So thank you for the knowledge, the expertise, and for alerting us. And I pray that we would take this to mind, talk to somebody, ask questions, and we can get you, all of us can stay on the straight and narrow, because they're out there. I mean, they come in and they're not going to stop coming, and they're getting more sophisticated. So the main thing, well, one of the main things is, as they said, when you almost know when something is not right. You might not know what's not right about it, but you know, like, okay, something ain't. So just trust that. And the information that they're going to leave with us and they shared with us, we thank you. And when you go in the other area, the refreshments, the drinks are on this table when you go in, and then the snacks is on the other table there. So thank you all.
And God
Appreciate
does
it.
call us to be good stewards of our money.
Yes, yes, Lord Jesus, yes.
I'm a Dave Ramsey follower, so.
Yeah. And we're in September, we're talking about, all my sermons is focusing on debt, getting out of debt, and then they don't know October it's going to be talking about money, and then we've got a guy, a regional vice president, coming in from Primerica, so he's going to be talking to us about budgeting and doing all that stuff too. So it's just going to be, we got the information, so if we don't use it, it's on us. All right? So thank you. Thank you.